What is the right age for your son to start dating? Is it 14, 16, 18? Or is it not really about the number at all? Because if you're a mom raising a teen boy, you've probably asked yourself, am I handling this the right way? Dating today looks very different than when we were growing up. And if we're honest, it can feel a little overwhelming trying to guide our sons through it. In this episode, I'm sharing how to know if your son is actually ready to start dating, what signs of maturity to look for, and how to guide him in a way that builds strong character, healthy relationships, and lasting faith. Welcome to Raising Boys with Purpose, a Christian parenting podcast for moms raising teens and young adult sons. I'm Brooke, a boy mom and parenting coach, and here we talk about raising sons, building character, and preparing our boys for adulthood with confidence and faith. Now, before we jump in, if you're enjoying the podcast and it's encouraging you, I'd love for you to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you're looking for a community of moms who are learning how to raise boys into young men, I'd love to invite you to join us in the Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook group. You'll find the link in the description. It's a space for encouragement, real conversations, and support, because you're not meant to figure this out alone. So, boys and girls often start having crushes in elementary school, sometimes even in preschool. Just like their favorite friends, they often find one child they have a special fondness for. It's sweet, it's innocent, and it's perfectly normal. But as they grow, something begins to shift. Those simple crushes start to feel a little more serious. By the time middle school comes around, we begin looking ahead to high school and quietly asking ourselves, what are we going to do about dating? And if we're honest, it can feel a little overwhelming. We want to make good decisions for our sons, but we're not always sure where to start. For me, dating wasn't really part of my high school experience. I didn't really date at all. I don't remember having any big conversations with my parents about it. It just seemed understood that I wouldn't. I was asked out a few times, but there was never anyone I wanted to go out with enough to really pursue it. So most of what I knew about dating came from watching my friends and their experiences. So when my oldest son was getting ready to start high school, I realized this was something I needed to think through more intentionally. My husband and I, we talked about it at first, and then we sat down with our son. We tried to keep it casual, but we planned it. This was new territory for us, and we really wanted to get it right. One of the biggest questions we had to answer, for him and later for his brother, was, what is the right age to start dating? After thinking it through, we landed on 16. It felt a little traditional, but it also felt right for our family. And when our son asked why that age, we talked about maturity and being ready. We joked a little and said, wouldn't you want to be able to drive your date to the movies instead of having your parents take you? It was lighthearted, but underneath that joke was something deeper. We wanted him to understand that dating comes with responsibility. And we wanted him to be ready for that. And while we landed on 16 for our family, I realized pretty quickly that it wasn't really about the number. Because you can set an age, but that doesn't necessarily mean your son is ready for what comes with it. So I started asking myself a different question. What does ready actually look like? So what is the right age to start dating? The truth is, there isn't one perfect answer. If you look at history, dating as we know it is actually pretty new. And even compared to when we were in high school, dating today looks very different. The language has changed, the expectations have changed, and sometimes it can feel like a completely different world. Just like the world has changed, our sons are different too. So instead of asking, what age should my son start dating, I found myself asking a different question. Is he ready for what dating actually requires? And that shifts everything for me. Because when we really think about it, dating isn't just about going out or having fun. It brings responsibility, emotions, expectations, and the possibility of getting hurt. So I started looking at different areas of his life. Not perfectly, but just paying attention. Now, this isn't a checklist. It's just a few things I started noticing as he grew. But one of the first things we noticed was responsibility. When we joked about the driver's license, there was some truth in that. Driving is one of those moments where you start to see growth in a real, tangible way. Is he following the rules? Is he going where he says he's going? Can he be trusted with something that requires consistency and accountability? And from there, it naturally led to how he handles relationships in general. Because dating is emotional. Even at a young age, feelings are real, and there's always the chance of someone getting hurt. So I started paying attention to how he handled friendships, how he responded when there was tension at home, whether he could step outside of himself and consider someone else's feelings. And honestly, one of the biggest questions for me was, how does his faith show up in these moments? Not perfectly, but is it there? Is it shaping how he treats people? Then there's resilience, because at some point, if he dates, he's going to experience disappointment. And I wanted to know, can he handle that? Can he process it in a healthy way? Can he forgive, but also recognize when something isn't right? Those are life skills that go far beyond high school. Now, another piece we had to think through, one we don't always talk about, is the practical side. Can he afford to date? Does he have a job, or is he expecting us to cover everything? Because even something as simple as going out introduces responsibility. It's not about the money. It's about learning to manage priorities. And then finally, we had to ask, what does dating even mean to him? Because that word can mean something differently depending on who you ask. Has he thought about what he wants? What kind of relationship he's stepping into? Is this something he's genuinely interested in, or is it just about not feeling left out? And as we walked through all this, it wasn't about checking boxes or making sure everything was perfect. It was about helping him grow into someone who is ready for a healthy relationship. Not just now, but in the future. When we look at all of this together, it helps us shift from asking, what age should my son date, to asking, is my son ready for what dating requires? Because our sons are growing into men, and the experiences they have now are shaping who they will become as future husbands and fathers. So as we make these decisions, it's important to talk openly about them, about what we're looking for and why it matters. Not to create pressure or unrealistic expectations, but to guide them toward healthy, meaningful relationships as they grow. Now, the idea of our sons dating can feel like a lot. We want them to enjoy this season of life, but we also want them to grow into strong, kind, grounded young men. And sometimes that tension can make us feel anxious. But instead of sitting in that stress, this is such an opportunity to turn to God. In James 1:5, it says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. We don't have to have all the answers. We just need to be willing to pray, to seek wisdom, and to start the conversation early. Because when we do that, we take some of the pressure out of the moment, and we show our sons that we trust God's guidance and we trust them as they grow. Dating can be fun, but it's not a game. And even though many high school relationships don't last, they still matter. They're shaping how our sons will approach love, respect, and commitment in the future. So our role isn't to control every step, it's to prepare them well. If this episode of Raising Boys with Purpose encouraged you, please like this video and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of this podcast. And if you're raising a teen or young adult son and want encouragement and practical guidance, come join us in the Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook community. The link is below. Thanks for being here today. Now grab your iced coffee, hug your son, and remember, you're raising him with purpose.